Hello and welcome to the K&ESR Sussex Railway Basic Railway Safety course. This course provides you with the necessary training to enable you to work safely on the track as part of your duties. By the end of this course you will be able to walk and work safely on the track and know how to stop a train in an emergency. The course is broken down into several sections to enable you to pause the DVD and ask questions should you need to. There is an active note-taking policy. If you want to make notes, please do so. If you do not complete the course or the Basic Railway Safety exam successfully, then you are not permitted to work on the line unless directly supervised by a competent person. Before you start work on the line, you must be certified as medically fit. Normally, this is done by completing a simple medical questionnaire. For some grades, and occasionally through necessity, you may need to undergo a simple railway medical. This is nothing to worry about and only takes about 15 minutes to complete. Looks really pretty and safe, doesn't it? Well, it is, providing everybody follows the rules. The rules are there to protect people like you, not to hinder you in whatever tasks you are doing. People can and have been killed whilst working on heritage railways. We provide you with the training and the equipment to do the job safely. It is your job to follow the instructions and rules and use the equipment properly. You are responsible for your own safety. Chapter 1. Preparation. Before you go on the track, you must prepare properly. The company requires that you are issued with a copy of sections A and B of the rulebook, the Basic Railway Safety booklet and a certificate of competence once the course is successfully completed. You must also complete a self-registration form and a medical questionnaire. The railway has a strict drugs and alcohol policy. You must not report for duty under the influence of alcohol or any drug that may impair your performance. Nor may you consume alcohol or take any drug that may affect your performance whilst on duty. If the drug you are thinking of taking is illegal, then it is certainly not permitted on railway property. In terms of prescription medication, you must declare this to the company medical officer, who will determine whether it will affect your ability to perform safely. If you are at all unsure, you can request a copy of the drugs and alcohol policy from your manager. What you need to be aware of is that trains are not able to take avoiding action. They cannot go round you if you're stood in the middle of the track. The other problem with trains is that they tend to be quite heavy and take a long time to stop. A small carriage weighs at least 11 tonnes, the bigger ones in excess of 30. Most passenger trains on the railway are formed of 5 carriages. You must not go on the line until you clearly understand the arrangements for your safety, you have carefully studied the contents of the Basic Railway Safety booklet, and have been certified as medically fit. The track is not a playground. You must not go on the track unless it is necessary in connection with your duties. As a heritage railway, we accept that you may want to take photos from the track. If you do, you must follow the instructions in this DVD and the Basic Railway Safety booklet. So what do we need before we go on or near the line? Let's take a look. Meet Pete. He is about to go onto the track, but he hasn't prepared himself properly. Luckily, he has complied with the rules regarding drugs and alcohol, so we haven't had to send him home. Pete completed his Basic Railway Safety course last November and has his certificate of competence on him, something you must keep with you whenever you go on or near the track. Let's get him ready. First of all, we need to get rid of the bright red, yellow and green outer clothing. All of these colours have specific meanings, and if you wear them on the line or near the track, you may confuse the driver of an oncoming train. Now let's look at his feet. Pete is wearing a pair of trainers. These do not provide sufficient ankle support for walking on ballast or uneven surfaces. You may be required to walk reasonable distances on the ballast. Therefore, properly fitting and supporting boots with steel toe caps are vital. The other problem with trainers is that should anything heavy land on your feet, you are completely unprotected. As we round the curve, there are 3 people on the track. One of them isn't wearing his high visibility vest. The other is wearing a dirty high visibility vest, and the third is wearing a clean high vis vest that is done up at the front. Let's see how close you have to be before you can see them. As you can see, the man in the clean high visibility vest can be seen first. Next comes the person in the dirty high visibility clothing, and lastly the man wearing no high visibility clothing at all. The moral of the story is that clean high visibility clothing worn correctly makes you more visible to approaching trains. Let's see how Pete is getting on. As you can see, Pete is wearing his high visibility jacket. Looks like rain. Luckily, Pete remembers from his training that wearing a hood restricts your hearing and vision, so he's folding it down and putting on a cap instead. Regardless of weather conditions, you should not put your hood up, as this significantly masks your hearing and vision of approaching trains. If you're worried about getting a cold or a wet head, wear a cap, not the hood. This is a heritage railway, and high visibility clothing should only be worn when you're on or about the track. It should not be worn on platforms or in other public areas when we are open. This completes the section on preparation prior to going on or near the track. Chapter 2. The track and definitions. We're now ready to look at the track. This is a typical track layout. As you can see, we have 2 running lines. We have the 4-foot ways indicated by the men on the track with the red arrows. We have the 6-foot way as indicated by the man with the yellow arrow, and the cess as indicated by the men with green arrows. The 4-foot way is the distance between the running rails. This is actually 4 foot 8.5 inches. The 6-foot way is the distance between 2 parallel sets of running lines. The cess is the area of ground between the boundary fence and the running rails. This is where you should normally walk if possible. You are regarded as being on or near the line if you are within 2 meters of any running line, and on the line side if you are within the boundary fence up to the point defined as on or near the line. This is where you would be in the view of an approaching train. This does not apply if you are on a platform or in other public areas. We will now look at a position of safety. This is the place you go to if a train approaches. This is a place that allows a clearance of at least 1.25 meters or 4 feet between you, any equipment you are carrying, and the nearest running rail on which a train may approach. This is the minimum distance you must be away from the line. This is a set of points. This is one of many sets right across the railway. They enable trains to move from one line to another. You must be careful where you walk. The points can move without warning. Never step on the point blades or any other rail. Always walk on the ballast and not on the sleepers. They may be very slippery. Nothing must be placed between the rail and the point blade. That includes you. If that was your hand or foot, you would now be in a lot of pain and potentially trapped and quite unable to raise the alarm. You must never step across an inspection pit. The surfaces around them may be slippery and you may lose your footing. Always walk around or use a proper pit board if provided. You are not permitted to operate a set of crossing gates unless you have been certified as competent or are under direct supervision of someone who is competent. If you need to carry out work on vehicles in sidings, or work on the siding where the points are controlled from the signal box, you should contact the signalman to prevent the approach of a train. The signalman will place a reminder collar on the point lever to protect you. Where the points are not controlled by a signal box, you can protect yourself by placing a point clip on the points to prevent access to the line you are working on. As you can see, the clip is placed under the rail and holds the point blade and rail together. Once it is done up tight, a padlock is put on it and kept locked until all work is complete. This concludes the section on track and associated definitions. Chapter 3. Railway Signs and Signals. Railway signs are positioned on the track for your safety. There are many signs covering specific functions. You must obey all warning signs, lights, bells and notices. Signals are also placed at the line side and regulate the passage of trains. This is a semaphore signal. When it is horizontal, as it is now, it indicates danger. A driver cannot pass this signal without special authority. A signal at danger must never be relied upon to prevent the approach of a train. Normally, the signal would be cleared to allow the train to pass. This is a lower quadrant signal, with the arm dropping to about 45 degrees. Many of the other signals on the railway, like the three signals here, are upper quadrant, with the arm raising by approximately 45 degrees. Limited clearance signs are placed at locations where quite simply there is not enough room for you, the structure and the train. You must not enter an area marked by a limited clearance board when a train is approaching. If a train approaches whilst you're within an area marked by a limited clearance board, you must leave the area immediately. If you're unable to leave the area, you must lie down as far away from the line as possible, making sure to tuck in any loose clothing. The railway has quite an extensive internal phone network. In instances where you need to contact the signalman and cannot do so in person, you should first use the direct-to-box phone. A direct-to-box phone is indicated by a black and white diagonal series of stripes. Normally, all you have to do is pick up the receiver and you're connected to the local box. Occasionally, you may need to press a button to ring the box. If there is no direct-to-box phone, you can use the internal phone. This is a dial phone. Inside the cabinet, you will find a telephone directory. Dial phones are marked by a black cross on a white background or the image of a phone. Along the line are telegraph poles. All of the poles are numbered. They also have an arrow with a letter T to indicate the location of the nearest line-side phone. This concludes the section on railway signs and signals. Chapter 4. Working and walking on the railway. Before going on the line, you must put on your high visibility vest. You should not go on the track unless it is necessary in connection with your duties. You should not use the track as a shortcut to your place of work. In some locations, authorised walking routes are provided. These are properly laid paths that are kept clear to enable staff to reach their place of work. You must still obey any warning signs or notices that may be provided, and look both ways before crossing. You must always be alert for approaching train movements. Remember, trains can approach from either direction. You must never rely upon your knowledge of the timetable. Extra trains may be booked to run, and never rely on a signal at danger to prevent the approach of a train. Look both ways when crossing the line or crossing from one line to another. Where possible, walk in the cess. If this is not possible, walk on the ballast, close to the edge of the track. Never walk on the sleepers or the rails, they may be slippery. Avoid being on or between any lines. Beware of tripping hazards such as point rodding and signal wires. They may move without warning. Whenever possible, use approved places to access the line. People may see you climbing through fences and think that they can follow. Once on the line, access gates where normally locked should be relocked. If you see a set of gates left open at a user work crossing, you must close them. You should report any gates you have closed to the nearest open signal box. You must take extra care in noisy areas during high winds, darkness or poor visibility. Remember, low sunlight and glare could affect your visibility, so take extra care when on the track in these conditions. Where possible, cross the line by using a foot crossing and obey any warning indications. You must not allow yourself to become distracted by using a mobile phone or making notes. At no time are you permitted to use an MP3 player, iPod or other similar device when on or about the track. If you do need to use a mobile phone or make notes, make sure you're in a position of safety. Take extra care when stepping out from behind a vehicle or structure. Avoid crossing in front of any moving train or vehicle. You must not go under any stationary vehicle or cross within 50 feet or 15 metres of a stationary vehicle unless you're sure they will not move.
As a driver, shunter or guard, I've got absolutely no chance of seeing anyone cross that close to the front of this vehicle. You should always ensure that there is at least 50 feet between stationary vehicles before crossing between them. If there is a locomotive attached to a stationary vehicle, attract the driver's attention first.
Although you should avoid crossing between vehicles, a good guide to what 50 feet looks like is roughly the length of one big carriage. When a train approaches, you must immediately move clear of all lines unless you're already in a position of safety and in no danger. You must then lower to the ground any equipment you are carrying and acknowledge the audible warning given by the train by raising one arm above your head. You must remain in the position of safety until the train has completely passed and you can see no other train is approaching. If you are caught in the 6 foot between adjacent lines on both of which trains are approaching and you are unable to reach a position of safety, choose a point where the ground is not obstructed and lie down immediately. Being sure to tuck in any loose clothing. Never lie down in the 4 foot. This concludes the section covering working and walking on the railway. Chapter 5. Shunting. Shunting is the most dangerous operation we undertake on heritage railways. People have been seriously hurt and killed on heritage railways as they have not followed the rules. Getting on or off of moving vehicles is not permitted. You must take care when lines converge. As you can see, the shunter is travelling on the shunter's step. This means that the shunter has a proper step, keeping his body within the total width of the locomotive. If the shunter were to travel on the cab steps, he may be knocked off where lines converge. Do not travel on the steps of a locomotive or a vehicle unless a proper shunter step is provided. This concludes the section on shunting. Chapter 6. Steam and diesel locomotives. We use steam locomotives, and with them they bring about their own risks. You need to be aware that steam escapes perfectly normally out of various pipes and valves. Steam locos tend to be very noisy and can cause distraction. The fireman is now turning on his injector. This is a device that puts water into the boiler. You can tell this as water is now running from an overflow pipe. Unfortunately, on this occasion it hasn't picked up properly, and you can now see a jet of steam coming from the overflow. This is not a problem for the loco. The fireman will simply attempt to restart the injector. You need to be aware that occasionally the injector doesn't pick up and steam can come out of this pipe. Look, he's now got it. The driver will use his whistle to act as a warning that something is about to happen. On this occasion, it's an indication that the locomotive is about to move. As you can see, steam is coming from under the engine at the front. These are drains from the cylinders, as a lot of water has condensed in the steam passages since the locomotive was last used. If there was no way of allowing the water to escape, serious damage would be caused to the cylinders, as water is not compressible. Once the water has been expelled from the steam passages and cylinders, the drains will be shut. Another reason that a driver will blow the whistle is to indicate to everyone in the yard that the locomotive is about to be blown down. This is a very noisy operation and can create a complete whiteout of the yard. If you have no reason to be around when a locomotive is blowing down, you should leave the area. If you are caught in the steam cloud, ensure you're in a position of safety and wait there until visibility returns. Diesel locomotives also present risks to people on the line. Diesel locos and multiple unit trains tend to be quieter than steam trains. You must never rely on listening for the approach of a train. Always look up frequently. This concludes the section on steam and diesel locomotives. Chapter 7. Safety of staff when working on or near the line. If the work you're about to carry out could affect the safety of rail traffic, railway property, or endanger persons involved in it, permission to start work must be obtained from your supervisor or manager. Examples of this type of work include making attachments to any structure or equipment such as bridges, station roofs, signal and electrical equipment and their supports, interfering with any wires, cables and any other signalling apparatus, using ladders, cranes, other portable plant and equipment or trimming and felling trees that could swing or fall towards the line, excavating holes or stacking materials within 6 feet or 2 metres of the nearest rail or platform edge, conveying plant or materials across the line. If the work you are to undertake involves rolling stock, you must place a not to be moved board on the end of the vehicle to prevent the approach of a train. If the siding on which the vehicle is berthed can be accessed from more than one location, not to be moved boards must be placed on both ends of the vehicle. If possible, the points leading to the siding should be clipped, or if the points are worked from a signal box, the signalman should be requested to prevent access to the siding by use of collars. Tools and materials must be left clear of the line and not within 4 feet or 1.25 metres of the nearest running rail. You must not put tools or materials where they can obstruct recesses, walkways or walking routes, or be used by vandals to obstruct the line or cause damage. Do not obstruct warning notices. Do not place flammable materials near the line side. Do not leave covers off manholes or cable troughs. Portable plant and materials must not be left unsecured near the line side because of the possibility of theft and vandalism. You must speak to your supervisor if you are required to use a rail trolley. There are lots of rules regarding rail trolleys. If you're unsure on whether you can use one or not, then don't. Ladders and scaffolding must not be erected closer than 2 metres from the nearest rail of a line open to traffic. Care must be taken when using portable plant vehicles close to the line. You must not allow any part of the vehicle to become foul of the line. Where possible, drive across at level crossings, and then only if you are sure it's safe to do so. You must obey any warning notices provided. The permanent way gang have arrived at their place of work. As the task they're undertaking is small and won't affect the safety of rail traffic, trains continue to run normally. All of the permanent way men are aware that trains are running. They have a position of safety nearby. Here comes a train. As you can see, they have seen the train, told their colleagues, moved to their position of safety, which is 4 feet from the line, lowered to the ground the equipment they're carrying, and have acknowledged the audible warning by raising one arm above their head. Whenever you are on the track, you are responsible for your own safety. You must not start work until you're sure it's safe to do so. You're aware trains may approach from either direction. You clearly understand the position of safety to which you must go when a train approaches. You must look up frequently to ensure that you have sufficient warning of approaching trains. You must never rely upon being warned of the approach of a train. In some instances, the work that is being carried out may be noisy or distracting. In this case, if trains are permitted to continue running, a lookout may be appointed. A lookout is identified by a person wearing a white armband with the word lookout in red on it. The sole purpose of the lookout is to warn the gang of an approaching train. You must know the method by which the warning will be given. Examples include a verbal warning, a whistle, or being touched on the shoulder. You must also know where the position of safety is. When a lookout gives a warning of an approaching train, you must stop work and move to the position of safety. Acknowledge the warning by raising one arm above your head. Once the train has passed, you wait for the lookout to indicate it's safe to return to work. If you cannot see the lookout, or the lookout is using a mobile phone or distracted for some other reason, stop work and inform the person in charge. You must never distract the lookout. When the work affects the safety of rail traffic, for example when we renew the track, we take an engineer's possession. During an engineer's possession, the whole line or portions of it are closed to passenger trains. However, departmental trains or on-track machines may use the line. If you need to carry out work on the line that is under possession, you first need the permission of the person in charge of the possession, also known as the PICOP. The PICOP wears a yellow armband with the words Person IC Possession in red on it. No work or train movement may take place without the authority of the PICOP. Before starting work in an engineer's possession, you must first obtain the PICOP's permission. The engineer's possession may contain more than one work site. These are areas controlled by engineering supervisors. They wear yellow armbands with the words Engineering Supervisor in blue. The engineering supervisor is in charge of all train movements and work within their work site. You must obtain the engineering supervisor's authority to start work in a work site. You must also report to and sign in with the engineering supervisor before entering the work site. Wherever you are working, be it on an open line with or without lookout protection, or within an engineer's possession, or an engineering supervisor's work site, It is important to remember that trains may still approach from any direction. All of our civil engineering work is done by volunteers using very heavy machinery. You can see the ballast loaded in the wagons. This is now being dropped to fill up the gaps on the line so the track can be lifted at a later date to get it level. You can now see the regulator sweeping the ballast to ensure an even fill. Let's now look at a tamper at work at Rolvenden. The machine you can see now is a tamper. This is a very clever piece of kit that lifts the track, then lines it up, and then using the tines, packs stone under the sleepers, drops the track and moves on to the next sleeper. As you can see, this is an extremely fascinating but very noisy operation. Did you hear that coming? Amazing, isn't it? This is why you must never allow yourself to become distracted. If the driver of that train had not seen you, who knows what may have happened. If you want to watch P-way operations, make sure you're stood in a position of safety and clearly not in danger. This concludes the section on safety of staff when working on or near the line. Chapter 8. Action in an emergency. If an emergency were to occur that could endanger trains, immediate action must be taken to stop trains. Examples include an accident, fire, flooding, fallen trees, or large animals on the line. You must obey the instruction of the person who takes charge. You must not endanger yourself. A door handle on the catch should also be treated as an emergency situation. We operate historic slam door trains. There is no central locking, so it's down to the correct operation of door handles to prevent an incident. As a train passes, you must make sure that all door handles are horizontal. If you see a door handle at 45 degrees, you must attempt to stop the train. If an emergency were to occur, the first thing you should try and do is contact the signalman. The signalman may be able to stop trains. If you can contact the signalman, either in person or by phone, you must state, "This is an emergency call." Ensure you're talking to the correct person. Say who you are, where you are, what the nature of the problem is, what is required, and where the incident is. Ensure the signalman repeats back the message and that it is clearly understood. Do not end the telephone call or leave the signal box until told to do so.
Rolvenden Signal Box, signalman speaking.
This is an emergency call. Hello Rolvenden Signal Box, this is Richard Stone calling you from Pope's Cottage. There is a tree that has fallen and blocked the line at Gaysdown Woods. We need to stop trains and get a chainsaw operator to cut up the tree.
Right, I understand you're calling from Pope's Cottage to report a fallen tree that has blocked the line at Gaysdown. Can you hold the line a moment while I get the signals back to danger? Right, I've put the signals back to danger. You're calling from Pope's Cottage. I've managed to stop the train, which is still in the platform here. Do you have any detonators with you?
Yes, I have 6 detonators and red flags with me.
Right, if you can place the detonator protection and then phone back to confirm, I'll arrange a chainsaw operator to come and meet you.
Righto, signalman, I will place the protection and report back.
That's fine. Can I take your phone number?
Yes, my number is 07940240919.
Right, let me read that back to you. That's 07940240919. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. What do you want me to do now?
Right, I want you to wait where you are, and I will get the chainsaw operator to come out to you. And when he arrives with you, if you can advise him what to do once he's on site.
Okay, I will wait for the chainsaw operator.
Okay then, thanks very much. Keep in touch and I'll speak to you later. Thanks then, bye.
Thank you, goodbye. This is a detonator. It is a small metal disc with lead tags. Inside is a small amount of explosive that, when run over by a train's wheels, causes an audible warning to the driver. You must make sure that when you are issued with detonators that the canister is sealed and the seal is intact. Inside is normally 6 detonators and 2 red flags. Detonators last 5 years and they have a date of manufacture stamped on the case. When you place a detonator on the road, you need to stand 30 metres away with your back to them when the train's wheels explode them. I need to protect the line because of a fallen tree round the corner. To protect the line due to an obstruction, we need to walk 300 metres or yards from the obstruction and place 3 detonators at 10 metre or yard intervals. If trains can approach from both directions, you need to protect both sides of the obstruction. There, that's the detonator protection placed. That's 3 detonators at 10 metre intervals, 300 metres from the obstruction. Now to phone the signalman. Oh, one point to note when talking to the signalman: you must always say that the line is blocked when talking about an obstruction. Never say that the line is not clear, just in case it's a bad telephone line and all the signalman hears is line clear. Hello, Robin and Box, this is Richard Stone. I'm phoning to confirm that detonator protection has been placed 300 metres from the obstruction. Yes, that's correct. OK, bye. The signalman says a chainsaw operator is now on his way to cut up the tree. He said that we were really lucky. A few more minutes and the train would have been here. Do you know what to do if it had approached? If the train had approached before we had put the detonators down, we could have stopped it by raising both arms above our head, by waving a red flag, showing a red light, or waving any colour light violently.
I understand you've got a spot of bother along here?
Yes, there's a fallen tree just round the corner. It's quite big. I would never have been able to move it on my own, and it could have done some nasty damage to the train. I've put protection down on both sides of the obstruction.
Righto, let's get to it then.
You can head back if you like, because this is going to take a while.
We're nearing the end now, but we need to make sure you know what happens when a train is in distress. The most common cause for a train in distress is either due to the failure of the braking system or due to the train sliding on the rail. In some cases this can be very serious. If a train is in distress, the driver will give a continuous series of short, sharp blasts on the whistle or horn as a warning. If you are on the line, make sure you and any tools you have are clear of the line. Acknowledge the audible warning by raising one arm above your head. If you are near a level crossing and can do so safely, open the gates to rail traffic. If you cannot open the gates safely, try and stop the road traffic. Whatever you do, you must not put yourself in any danger. Always remember, if you need to stop a train in an emergency, raise both arms above your head. This is the standard hand signal to stop a train. If you have one, you can wave a red flag. In the hours of darkness or during poor visibility, you can use the red aspect of a bardic lamp. But if you do not have a bardic to hand, any colour light waved violently can be used to stop a train. Thank you for watching this DVD. I hope it has been informative and you have learnt some valuable points from it. May I wish you a very long and happy career on the railway. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to talk to your instructor or later your line manager. Goodbye.